Like television announcers, in terms of intonation, like a documentary film with a hint of drama and restrained emotions. Have you ever wondered why our cities feel empty? Where did the noisy streets, the laughter of children, the smell of fresh bread, and the real human spirit go? Today, I'm going to show you what almost nobody talks about. You'll see the cities as they were in the 1960s, living, breathing organisms, where life surged on every corner. And believe me, what you'll see will surprise you. From secret alleys where legends were born, to the hidden corners of factories and pubs where entire families' lives unfolded. Why did these cities change beyond recognition? What did they lose forever? And who is really responsible for turning life into something clean and quiet, but empty? I'll reveal shocking details and stories that almost no one knows, showing you the true faces of cities hidden from most eyes. Stay with us until the end. You'll see things that will completely change the way you think about the past of our cities and make you look at them in a whole new way. But first, hit like and subscribe to the channel. You won't want to miss what I'm about to show. Birmingham in the 1960s was the real engine of the country. Factories roared day and night, producing cars, motorcycles, and machinery that shaped Britain's economy. Men and women took pride in their work, and the air was thick with smoke and the energy of labor. Endless rows of red brick terraces hid tight-knit families. Kids played hopscotch on the pavement and raced homemade cars, while mothers swept the steps and exchanged news with neighbors. The clang of metal echoed from the factories, mixed with the smell of fresh bread from the bakeries. Markets buzzed with life, traders shouting their offers and selling everything from tripe to toys. Saturdays were for errands, football matches, and fish and chips wrapped in newspaper. Sunday mornings brought quiet streets, slow walks to church, and the scent of roast potatoes drifting from kitchens. This everyday life may have seemed simple, but it carried the real strength of the city, neighborly warmth, pride in work, and the honesty of life.
Like television announcers, in terms of intonation, like a documentary film with a hint of drama and restrained emotions. Manchester in the 1960s still carried the marks of its industrial past. Once a global textile capital, the city was transitioning to commerce and culture, but the working-class spirit was everywhere. Terraced houses stood shoulder to shoulder. Radios played quietly, not for entertainment, but to keep loneliness at bay after a long day. Life thrived in the alleys and markets. Neighbors argued over prices, shared weekly news, swapped stories, and each day left its mark. Music began seeping into walls and pubs, while local bands rehearsed in basements and back rooms, unaware that the roots of a musical revolution were forming right there. Football matches brought people together. Not just a game, but a ritual. Standing in the stands with a flask of tea and a club scarf, debating with friends and neighbors, celebrating victories and enduring losses. Manchester was rough, a bit messy, but alive, human to the core, and that's what made it unforgettable. Liverpool in the 1960s was a city defined by the sea. The port had once been the lifeblood of Britain, where goods, dreams, and people converged. Men in flat caps cycled to early shifts, children watched the ships from the waterfront, and pubs along the docks rang with laughter, sailors' stories, and local jokes. But it was music that changed the city forever. The Beatles, Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Cavern Club, Liverpool's rhythm spread across the world. The city became known not for exports or industry, but for the soul and energy of its people. And even though the streets still carried hardships, crumbling homes, cramped families, unemployment, the locals kept their pride, laughter, and resilience. Liverpool sang louder, laughed harder, and kept going because that was in its nature.
Glasgow in the 1960s didn't sound like traffic or trams. Its rhythm was the hammering, the engines, and shouted orders from the shipyards. This was a city built on shipbuilding and hard labor, where every vessel and engine was the result of hundreds of people's efforts. Residents knew the value of their work. Men left early for their shifts, women ran households and cared for children, while streets echoed with labor, laughter, and shouts bouncing off stone buildings. Terraces and stone neighborhoods stretched for miles, forming true networks of neighbors. Mothers called out from windows to kids playing football or kicking makeshift balls. Pubs on every corner weren't fancy, but they were warm and full of stories, tales of tough days, achievements, hopes, and small victories. New public housing and tower blocks began to rise, promising a better future. Some thrived, some struggled, yet Glasgow's spirit remained unshakable. People laughed at hardships, supported each other, and took pride in their independence and traditions. A special identity formed here, tough, direct, but friendly and welcoming. Even amid change, Glasgow stayed alive, each corner holding stories, each street carrying the rhythm of labor, laughter, and hope. Leeds in the 1960s was a city where the past of textile industry intertwined with the breath of the future. Factories still produced fabrics, while streets filled with new faces and fresh ideas. Universities brought youth and energy, creating a contrast with the steady rhythm of industry. Men hurried to the mills, women worked in factories, and the smell of wool and resin filled the air. The noise of machines set the pace of the day. But the city wasn't just about work. Markets remained the heart of life, selling meat, vegetables, clothes, exchanging news, and feeling that the city was alive. Leeds was a city of contrasts. Noisy workshops and markets on one side, quiet university courtyards and bookshops on the other. Students brought new perspectives. Locals kept traditions. Football and local events connected generations. Boys and girls played in the streets. Adults discussed matches, and every street corner witnessed family life. Leeds didn't roar like Liverpool or rumble like Glasgow, but it thrived quietly, building the modern city one day at a time.
Like television announcers. In terms of intonation, like a documentary film with a hint of drama and restrained emotions. Sheffield in the 1960s was a city of steel, felt in everything. Metal rang from dawn to dusk, steam rose from furnaces, and molten steel glowed orange across the streets. Men went to factories with blackened hands and pride, while women managed homes and children navigated terraces on their way to school. Every day was both a challenge and a celebration of labour. Red brick terraces stood shoulder to shoulder, neighbours helped each other, and small shops trusted clients to pay later. Life was tough but human, valuing effort, honesty, and mutual support. Even as new neighbourhoods and modern buildings replaced old factories, Sheffield's spirit remained. Work forged character, every hour built history, and life flowed in the rhythm of steel, brick, and human energy. London in the 1960s was the centre of the world. Fashion, music, politics, and power collided in a single sprawling city. Carnaby Street dressed youth in bold colours and rebellion. Fleet Street shaped the headlines. Miniskirts and guitars defined a generation. But behind the glamour were real stories. In East London, families shared bathrooms and kitchens, terraced houses and council estates stood shoulder to shoulder. Every corner, from wealthy streets to working-class neighbourhoods, was alive with events, conversations, smells, and sounds. Immigration changed the city's voice. Caribbean, South Asian, and African communities brought new rhythms, food, and challenges. Not everyone welcomed change, but London absorbed it, becoming more complex, more layered. Glamour and grind, freedom and demands, opportunity and hardship, London was full of contrasts. It could make you find yourself or get lost in the crowd. But everyone living in 1960s London felt part of something big, powerful, and alive.
Like television announcers, in terms of intonation, like a documentary film with a hint of drama and restrained emotions. Cities of the 1960s weren't just streets and buildings. They lived, breathed, and had character. Every corner, street, and house carried a story, a rhythm and energy. Children playing in alleys, factories and shipyards defining life, markets and shops buzzing with activity, and pubs full of laughter, all created a city alive, tough yet deeply human. Today, streets are cleaner, transport is faster, glass towers rise where factories once stood. Progress brought comfort, but also erased the old rhythm of life. Modern cities have advantages, convenience, technology, order, yet they lost something essential, the aura created by people, their habits, noise, smells, and simple daily joys. Remember the markets, the songs in the pubs, the smell of fresh buns, the smoke from factories. Cities were real, full of motion, life, and community. Each city had its own character. Birmingham, pride in work. Manchester, industrial and musical energy. Liverpool, boldness and musical revolution. Glasgow, resilience and community. Leeds, old and new in contrast. Sheffield, steel and human strength. London, layers, contrasts and scale. People knew their neighbours, had rituals, joys and small worries. Life was loud, busy and real. Today we can see these cities in photos, films and memories, but it's hard to feel that energy. Yet it's important to remember, these stories made cities alive and tied people to the places where they grew up and worked. So here's a question for you. Which cities changed the most? Was it for the better? Or did we lose something vital chasing progress? Share your thoughts, memories and discoveries. For some, it's childhood recollections. For others, a discovery of new horizons. Cities are not just buildings and streets. They're memory, emotion and life, brought to people. Every corner, every street, every sound and smell carried the spirit of the past. We can walk modern streets today, but real magic is in the people, their stories, and how they lived. These cities weren't maps, they were living beings, breathing, laughing, working and building community, and though much has changed, the memory of that rhythm, those streets and those people remains, alive in those who remember, and those discovering them for the first time.